I'm Chez Pride, and today I want to go over the hot mess of a base game update that rolled out to The Sims 4 just a day or two ago. And honestly, it was such a hot mess at launch. I literally waited till the next day to even try to install the patch just to be rather safe than sorry. And we'll go over the reasoning behind all that and then what is actually in the patch in a moment. But first, even though when I post this, it will technically be after midnight, so it'll technically be the next day because I couldn't record till later tonight today. But since I waited till the next day to record this video after the patch, it kind of worked out because it is actually the day I'm recording this, the Sims 26th anniversary / birthday. So this is the 26th anniversary of the original Sims coming out. So on February 4th, year 2000, the original The Sims came out, which just is mind-boggling and crazy to say, like 26 years ago, like oh my god. And I know I normally say something about it every year, like last year I did a whole like birthday video on it where I did like 25 woohoos for 25 years of The Sims. So I say this every year, I don't feel like The Sims makes as big of a deal of it as I feel like they should. They make a bigger deal about The Sims 4 anniversary, which I guess I get because that's the current game, but I still feel like The Sims should do a little bit more. But I guess this year, at least they gave us the patch the day before. I just feel like they could have like made it more prompt. And honestly, we've been getting a patch every month for like over 6 months now. So it's not like it was something super special, especially since the patch wasn't that huge. Like it did come with some big good improvements, but like the bug fix list wasn't that long. I don't know. I feel like they could have done, and like most years, could have done something a little bit more for it. But at least this time they mentioned it on their socials. Some years they just don't mention it at all. But at least this year they did. So I'm over here on their Twitter. I was going to pull this up on Instagram, but for some reason, when I go to pull up the Instagram page, it's just like not working right now, like on the internet source. Like on the app, Instagram's working fine. Either way, I'm over here on Twitter and we are going to watch this little clip that they posted. It's just like basically just a little clip of like the original Sims game. It says to where it all started, Hoopla Warpna, which is happy birthday in The Sims. So it's just a little 23-second video and it just like shows some of the classic builds and families and whatnot. Like oh my god, that couch though brings back memories. Like that couch has been in kind of a staple in multiple games. Oh yeah, look at the animations. That's crazy. It's come so far. The Sims has come so far. But yeah, that is the little shout out that they did for their birthday. So I just wanted to say happy birthday to The Sims because it is my favorite game series. And honestly, it's something I grew up on and it has always been like my special interest. So I felt like it was worth shouting out. But now let's get into the drama about the patch and what is in the patch now that I believe it's working now. So I know I say this like a broken record on every single patch update video, but the reasons we're about to get into are exactly the reasons that I say this every video. So excuse me for repeating myself, but make sure before you ever install an update in The Sims 4, and I would just make it to where your game doesn't even update automatically, so you can make sure that you can do this before it updates. But one, if you use mod or CCs, make sure you're taking that out because you don't want any broken mods in your game. And big patches like these that are messing with like genealogy and stuff like that are going to break mods, and you want to give your mod creators time to update the mods before you put them back in your game, which normally takes a day or two. So it sucks not having your mods that long, but you'll survive. You don't want broken mods in your game. Trust me, it corrupts your files. But also, make sure you're backing up your save and tray folder. You don't have to even back up the whole Sims 4 folder. That would be your safest bet. But just at least back up your tray and your saves folder, because when stuff like this happens, you're gonna be glad you had your backed up version. So, basically, in brief, if you missed it, on the 3rd, which is 1 day ago for me or 2 days ago for you guys at this point, the Sims team came out with what was supposed to be like the big monthly patch. So every month for like over 6 months now, we've been getting a big patch every month that like fixes things in the game and gives us new content. But also this was the patch before Royalty and Legacy. So that's two big reasons why this patch was supposed to be a huge deal. And pretty much what happened was they rolled out the patch, and then people were so excited to see like the genealogy and stuff in the family trees that they immediately jumped on their game and were jumping into their like legacy save files and, you know, important save files and looking at the genealogy and all that, and then would save and exit their game. But what happened was some people weren't getting the content, so the Sims team decided to put out a second patch that reverted the game back not the original, but like the last patch update, like how it was before we put in the patch. And the people who updated the second patch and was like, oh, I wonder what's different about this patch, and then jumped into their game and went back into the save files, got their save files corrupted, because when they tried to open them, they would be like, oh, the game isn't updated to this level yet. You need a future game update to open this. And if they didn't have their backup files, like the file was just corrupted. They did end up coming out with a solution to tell you how to fix that if you didn't have your update, but this is why I back up your game before you update it, because if you have the backup file, you can at least put that back and it'll restore things. But I think they ended up fixing the patch and it should work now. But like I said, this is why I just waited a day, because like I wanted to make sure there was no more drama going down. But let me pretty much just show you the posts and the rundowns of this. So right after the patch release, it says something seems to be up with the game patch. If you start your game after an update, I would refrain from saving your game and exit now. EA released a version and then seemingly reverted the patch back. This is entire speculation at this point, but it's possible EA accidentally published an improper version, which means any saves under this version may be at risk. That's a hold off and wait for the corrected patch, which they did end up correcting, because if you go to the Sims Direct Communications page, which is where they kind of like post updates about stuff like this, it's kind of all over the place, but you can see here they say, we are aware some of you are experiencing issues with today's base game update. We know how disruptive this can be. Our team is actively working on it. And then a few hours later said, thanks for your patience. The Sims update is rolling out now. If you haven't updated yet, please do so. And then it says, if you started the update earlier, you may need to clear your cache. And it gives you instructions here. I also have a post here pulled up that just says the direct file you need to delete. So it's just like you have to delete the game version.txt file from your save files, and then you should be good to go if you didn't back up your game file. Luckily, this time they were able to come up with a solution, but sometimes it could have been way worse and you could have just like lost all your data for sure. But it wasn't the only drama that went on here. One, of course, the patch notes were late. The patch notes were like 3 or 4 hours late, but I guess with all this drama going on, that's kind of understanding. But also, even after it was fixed, at first, Xbox players weren't getting the patch, and they had to wait like super late at night to get the patch, was super annoying. Like, I hate when they give the patch to PlayStation and computer players, but then they don't include Xbox, or they'll just do PC and not console players. It just irritates me. But yeah, it was a bunch of drama. They did eventually get it out by the end of the night, but it was just a bunch of drama. And like I said, that is why I say back up your files. As far as that goes, we do have the actual patch notes to jump into now that the game is kind of fixed. I have updated my game. I haven't launched into it yet. I've been a little nervous. So we're going to go over the patch notes, and as we're going through them, I'm going to go into the game and show stuff off in more detail, because there's a lot of cool things that came in this patch. There wasn't a lot of bug fixes, but we do have some pretty cool stuff coming here today. So this article that that we are looking at today is the official patch notes over on the EA website under the Sims 4 category under news and updates, and the actual article itself is called Do It for the Plot. And like I said, this update came out on February 3rd, 2026, and the article starts out reading "Sol and hello" in several different languages from around the world. Are you ready to elevate your game experience with a wave of new features and gameplay additions? Then let's take a look at what the latest Sims 4 free base game update has in store for you. And it starts out by talking about the family tree updates, which this is like pretty much the biggest feature. There's like a second biggest feature, but this is like a two-part feature, because not only are they updating like the family trees with like different labels, like it'll show like your cousins, your uncles, your step parents and step siblings, your in-laws, and all of that stuff that we didn't have. But also it will now show hidden kids when you get the Royalty and Legacy pack or the Secret Children, and it'll also show more prominently when Sims are married through this little icon. And then they went through and on some of the families in the game, they went through and added Sims and like gave them like full family trees, like the Goss, the Landgraf, Johnny Zest, their quote secret child. And then also they went through in some of the packs and also gave those families updates. So it's a really big thing with the family tree. So I have the information here on the article, but we're also going to pull up some of the questions from the Q&A over on their Discord, because they did a Q&A about the family trees. Some of it overlaps with Royalty and Legacy, and I didn't screenshot all the questions because there's a lot of repetitive ones and a lot of ones that I felt like we're gonna go over that before we even get to that. But I did screenshot some of the more interesting ones and some of the ones that I thought pointed out important things. But first, let's read what's in the article. So it says, Family Tree has been updated to expand how you experience and tell your Sims family stories. Your Sims now have relationships labels for in-laws, half-siblings, great-grandparents, and more. Extended family members will also be shown in the tree. Players can now choose whether adopted Sims are labeled such as the family tree. So you can include adopted Sims to be labeled as adopted or just your kid. And then all the new relationship labels include mother-in-law, father-in-law, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, daughter-in-law, son-in-law, distant relative-in-law, half-sister, half-brother, stepmother, stepfather, stepdaughter, stepson, great-grandmother, great-grandfather, great-grandson, great-granddaughter, parents, cousin, cousin's child, grandniece, grandnephew, grandaunt, granduncle, ancestor, descendant, and relative-in-law. Divorce also has new name as ex-spouse. Deceased spouse's names are now late spouse. So even when your spouse dies, it will now keep it in the family tree, which I thought was really cool. And then it also says close relatives are prohibited from romantically being involved now. These prevent autonomous flirting between in-laws or step relatives, because basically like it didn't qualify like your in-laws or long distance relatives as family because we didn't have these labels. So we were having problems where like your great grandmother, or not your great grandmother, if you're unless you're working with a file where you don't delete your Sims and don't let them die, like I have in my short legacy challenge, your great grandmother may not be calling you, but like your mother-in-law would like call you and like flirt with you and like ask you out on a date, and she's like, no, that is not appropriate, but it's because it didn't register them as family. So this is also solving that problem. But like I said, they also included updates for the Sims family themselves. So it kind of shows that here, and it goes into that a little bit in the bug fix patches. But we have more information, like I said, on the Discord Q&A. So I have screenshotted these questions off the Sims communities page like I normally do, and we're going to dive in this. So the first one doesn't have a question with it. Some of these I just screenshot the answer. It's basically saying that now on the family tree, whatever sim you're on is supposed to show the 5 generations above and below it, showing a full 10 generations with every picture of each person and like saying how it's related to you, which shows so much more of the family. So I'm going to dive into that into the game. We'll go into one of my save files and show show that off. But then the next question says, if you're adding step parents, but they're already there, how does the new addition work? And pretty much we already talked about this, so it just puts in the proper label in the family tree. It's not going to change your relationship status, but it's not going to like go in and change your relationship with that person. It just changes the label, so it's properly labeled. And then this is pretty much just exactly what we read. I think it's exactly a direct post and link, but they did mention all the relationships here, so we have that. So the next question is, will any pre-made Sims get extended family trees such as the Goss and land grabs? And the question I answered earlier is yes, all of those are getting major updates. Not only are they adding like Johnny Zest into the land grab tree, they're also adding people that are from other packs connecting to other families. So such as the Goss are getting connected to the Crumple Bottoms because they're supposed to get connected. If you keep up with Sims lore from past games, or even just read the descriptions of the families in this game, all this lore is in there, but they didn't have the official titles, so they couldn't connect the Sims. Also, another family off the top of my head, we'll be seeing more families that get renovated through these questions, but one I can think off the top of my head is the vampire Lilith and then the werewolf Lily. So if you have the werewolf pack and the vampire pack, they will now show that they are related because there's a bunch of lore behind that and why vampires and werewolves hate each other. If you have looked into the lore of those packs, it's really cool stuff like that of them going through the packs and adding a bunch of lore. And they're also, like I said, adding family members. So they made like the Goss parents and whatnot, so they have that now. And even some of the family members, they'll show that they're like dead, so they made the Sim and like killed them. Like one of them like is killed by fire when they're knowing the Lord to have died in a fire. I just think all those little details are really cool. Let's keep going through the questions. I probably answered some of the questions we're going to go through in that statement because I kind of just rambled on, but I was really excited about that. And then it says, I would like to know whether the family trees will display titles for spouses' families. And it says yes, if you mouse over, you will see their titles, so you can now see like in-laws and all that. What about new family trees? The family trees have been updated with new relationship labels. Extended family members will now be shown in the family tree, and players can choose whether adopted Sims are labeled as such in the family tree. So you can now choose if your adopted Sim is labeled correctly in the family tree. And then we have, will the family tree update come into my older saves? And like I said earlier, yes, it's going to go into all the saves. And then this goes kind of into the royalty and legacies, but we're going to talk about it anyway. So it says, how's the foraging trees work? Will you be able to see aunts and uncles? And it says, yes, you'll be able to see aunt and uncles. And the foraging trees is where your Sims can fake family ties by using the forage interaction and on the tree tapestry object, which we've seen pictures of, but that directly shows how it directly is working. So I thought I would include that. It says, how far in the family tree do you have to be for romance interactions to work? Historically married, their descendant cousins, or even first cousins have done a big update where you can actually no longer be able to romance ancestors that are directly connected to you in a vertical line. This applies to new relationship save files. If you have a Sim dating an ancestor in an existing save file, it won't break that relationship, which I guess is good to that player, but also just it's not good to have that. But at least they're fixing it for future files. And then it says, will you be able to view whether a Sim is adopted? Also, it's a setting an option, create a Sim. And it says, if you can enable the setting and gameplay setting by default is disabled. That answers that about whether you can do it in cast or not. We have, can we assign the new roles in cast? And it says, no, we didn't add these to cast. So if you want your Sims to have a cousin, you should set up the aunts and uncles who have kids. So basically, you still have to do a little bit of prep. Like you have to like set up aunts and uncles through like your parents, sisters, and whatnot. But you can still see in game that, oh, this person's my cousin. Oh, this person's my mother-in-law, and stuff like that. And then it says, can a Sim have a biological biological and adoptive parent at the same time? And it says yes, because we're getting the ability to adopt Sims. I think that's in the Royalty and Legacy pack. I'm not sure. I don't think that came in the patch today. Anyway, the next question says, are the changes retroactive or will they apply to new relationships? And it says, like, it's retroactive, so it will apply to all past save files. Will the new family tree show old spouses if someone dies and remarries? And we went over this. Yes, they put them as late spouses. Romance is not allowed between cousins anymore, or in-laws, or step relatives, or all of that. They just clarified that again. And then it says, will the family tree show who was adopted and who was not? And there's an option in the settings to choose whether you want to show adopted descendants with the adopted label or not. So I guess that's part of like the game settings now. And then we have, does the new family tree keep the person's portrait if the ancestors are from a long time ago? And it says, if you check your settings, it might seem to have something low if it is removing portraits of deceased Sims. So basically what they're talking about is a while ago they gave us a base game update to where you can put how many max Sims are allowed in your save file per save file, and it's like unlimited 200, and a little bit lower. They recommend keeping it on like the 200. I typically do unlimited because I put a bunch of Sims in my file just in the background, but they recommend doing like the 200 level, which works if you're just playing with the families in the game and your file. But when you start putting in a bunch of background characters, it starts deleting characters, and sometimes it'll delete your Sims if they're like previously deceased or whatnot. They'll just delete like they never existed because they needed to put the Sim count down. For the first Sims they go for are the dead ones. So now it has it to where they'll mainly save through the family tree. You'll be able to see the ghosts and have relationships with them if they aren't passed on to the other side. And then it says, how do male Sims have a legitimate child? So this is also referring to Royalty and Legacies. So if you make a Sim pregnant with your male, you will not be able to lie about the tie to the baby with the father, but you can switch over to the mother and from the drop down choose which father is the baby's father. And if you don't choose the actual father of that's your Sim, then it's a legitimate or a illegitimate child and is like your secret child basically. And then this is just asking if the crumple bottoms will be added to the goth tree, and it says yes. So the next two questions kind of go together because they are kind of the same question, but they give different details and different answers. So the question is, what is the button show legend for the family tree window? And it says the show legend button shows a legend of all the new icons and different types of connecting lines you can see in the family tree now. If you have Royalty and Legacies, you'll be able to see unique icons in trees that show you the dynasty and who the Sims belong to it, and their noble rankings, as well as special connections to other Sims. For instance, Sims in the same dynasty will have the different type of connecting lines. Also, Royalty Legacies, you'll be able to forge the false connections. We already went over that, and see the dotted line in the family tree for the secret children. And then also, it kind of answers in this question that, like I said, the dotted line is for the secret children, and then the two rings that we saw earlier in this picture, like I said earlier, can show that the Sims are married. And then we have done a big pass of updates to include family connections with Sims from different packs that are extended to related lore. We're a bunch of big massive lore nerds. You will see those connections in new save files, and both have packs that you come from, such as Lily and the Vladimir. So, that kind of talked about earlier. So we have that. The lore is being extended on several different packs. And then this question says, if parents of step-siblings divorce, does the relationship go away like the ex-spouse one does, or does it stay? Would the sibling label also change? And the question is answered, separate relative relationships will go away if there's a divorce between the Sims that connect those step relatives. And then we have, will the family family tree update come into my older saves. Not bothered about pre-made sims as I delete them all anyway on my own. And it says, yes, the family tree update will show up in older saves. We already went over that. Sometimes Sims data gets cold if the save gets too big. Will the ancestor data be protected or yeeted? And it says, when a sim is cold, we protect the portrait, the name, and the cosmetic pics, but not the proper ID. Meaning you cannot resurrect them or find them. They're ghosts wandering, but they're still in the family tree posture. So they fixed it to where it doesn't delay out of the family tree completely. And then it says, will ghosts of past sims still be on the family tree? And will we be able to see their traits, job, etc.? And it says, ghosts will appear on the family tree. You will not be able to see all the details of the sim on the family tree, but their traits will not show, for instance. But I think they still shows like how they died and how they're related to you. We have, so a young adult can be the parent of another young adult, and it said not quite. So pretty much like I said, we're getting the option to adopt people, and basically you still have to have like an age gap between you. So they have to at least be one bracket older than you to choose them as their like adopted child, basically. So that's how that's gonna work. And then it says the only families we created ancestor for are the Goths, the Landgrabs, the Thebes, the Caps, and the Montes. So ancestors being dead relatives. So those are the families that they created those for, which are different base game families and the different families from the new Royalty and Legacy pack. And then I believe this last one says clones made using cloning machines from the scientist's career will show in the family trees as usual in the form of siblings, and also no lore update on Vlad, which is a little sad. But basically they're saying if you make a clone, it'll show up as your sibling in the tree. And that is all the questions I pulled. Like I said, it wasn't every single question, but I felt like that covered pretty much all of it that I was talking about. So now I want to jump in the game and show off several things. I want to jump into a couple of my save files and show off just the different connections in some of my save files that have like bigger family trees and family trees that have more complicated relationships. And then I also want to go ahead and show off the Landgrabs family tree and the Goss family tree, since those are the two base game families that got updated. And then also, we will jump into Creator Sim and show off what labels they have in Creator Sim, as well as going ahead and showing off some of the stuff that is coming in Creator Sim. So I'm going to quickly go over what is coming in Creator Sim that I'm going to show off. So we have Afro textured and curly hair filters. So basically we have hair filters now, and they include Afro textured and curly hair, so you can find those textures easier instead of just straight and wavy. And then they also added an African style filter on the clothes, so it's easier to find African traditional clothes. We have a new nail that has, I believe, 12 new colors, and that is pretty much everything I'm going to be showing off Creative Sim. So I just wanted to show it off in patch notes first, but I am just going to jump into my game and show off all the stuff I just listed back to back. I just didn't want to be jumping back and forth between the two files. So we're going to start with the Landgrab family tree out of the two base game families that I want to show off, because even though this one has less people attached to it and less changes, I'm actually most excited for this one because I'm a huge Johnny Zest fan. So if you didn't know, the Landgrabs pretty much just kicked Johnny Zest out of the family, and it was already in the lore, like if you read the family description, but they didn't have the proper family tree relationship. So now you can see that Johnny Zest is their child as well as Malcolm. It does not show that he was outcasted, because technically you have to have royalty and legacies to do that, but for just the base game they do not have him listed as a child. We can also see the married button here. Also, if you show legend, it shows a little chart here to show what everything means. So a line means family connection. I'm assuming we have royalty and legacy. It'll show that the dotted line means secret child, and then married is the loops, and divorce is the loops with a broken heart. So we have all that. Also, now when you scroll over, you can see here the relationships as well as their career and their schooling. And then also, if they are dead, it will show how they died. So I thought that was really cool. But let's go ahead and jump into the Goth family now so we can see their family tree, because it's a little bit more interesting than this one. Okay, so here is the Goth family tree, and from here it doesn't look like much because I'm on Bella, but you know, the lore in past games is like Bella was kidnapped, and so she has less family lore. But Mortimer, if you click on him, we have a whole range now. So you can now see that the Crumple Bottoms are related through Agnes. So we have Cornelia, which is Mortimer's parent, who was deceased by fire, which matches up with the lore, who is Agnes Crumplebottom, which this is all lore from previous games. And then even if you go up from Agnes Crumplebottom and Cornelia, it shows their parents, Simon Crumplebottom and Prudence Crumplebottom, which were not previously characters in the game. So these are all new characters that are just added in by Ghost. So I thought that was pretty cool. So that is how they have updated the Goss family tree. And you can see here, if you click on like Alexander, that it shows that these are his grandparents and great grandparents, as well as if you click on Mortimer, you can see that Agnes Crumplebottom is his aunt. So we have these relationships here. So now I want to go into my save file. We're going from the 7th to 8th generation. I'm going to go into that save file and we're going to look at the family tree that has like a big family tree so we can really get into the details of it. So we are now in my short legacy save file where I have been playing pretty much 8 generations now. In the next episode I put out, which will be a minute because I want to make a certain review video before I do the video where these two age up. But Hayden and his sister Hunter here are generation 8 and they're about to turn into a young adult. So we are going straight into the next generation on level 8, which means we have 8 generations worth of family in her family tree. So Hunter's the heir. So if we go to hers, you can see so many families and it goes all the way up. So because we have less than 10 generations, it's showing the whole generation. I think if you like click on the highest generation, once you get to the top, you can keep going. But as you can see here, there are several relationships here going all the way back to me and Gage being the main Sims starting out. You can go here and you can see that these are Hunter's parents. This is Hunter's brother. We can also go here and this is her uncle, and her relative-in-law is what they're putting as her aunt's husband. So it's not like her uncle-in-law, it's just saying relative-in-law. And you can see that Jay is her cousin, which I really need to age him up because he's supposed to be technically older than them. So I need to fix that. I keep forgetting I have to tinker their age. And also you can see on this side that this is her parents' cousin. So we have that, and then we have great aunt, and we have distant relative-in-law for her great aunt's husband, distant relative when it comes to this cousin over here because it's technically connected all the way through this sim, which is her great grandfather. So I guess that great grandfather is kind of just starts after that when people relate to them like their brother and sisters and whatnot. It just kind of says distant relative. So it goes so far back, but it's so many new relationships. Like we did not have this many relationships before, and which I find interesting. I love that it goes all the way up here, like way past the top. I think this is such an improvement on what we had, and it looks so much nicer. Like I feel like the scale of it improved as well, and it's much easier to like navigate and see all the people. You can actually see literally all the portraits as well, where they used to have a problem where like the portraits would like black out and stuff. I don't know. I just think this is really nice. So now we're going to go into a family that I used in a previous video, but I made a new member to show off the Kratos and stuff. But I'm going to show off their relationship in their family tree. And they also have a ghost in their family. None of these Sims are dead because the way I play this save file is literally I will keep them at an adult at oldest. And then when I move them out, I'll make them where they don't age up. So that's why we have literally all the way back to level 1. But I'm going to go and jump into this save file because they have a ghost in their family and I want to show off that. But I also want to show off how the relationships show in the tree versus how they show off in Kratos Sim. So this is a family that I've used for a couple of Kratos Sim update videos now. And the purple Sim is the only one that is new here. Everyone else I've used in a previous video before. But basically I made Amara's sister Lamara and she's going to show off some of the new stuff in Kratos Sim. But I thought that this family also had an interesting family dynamic now that we added in the sister. So we have the in-law dynamic as well as we have the ghost grandfather. So it's not as extensive as the family we just saw, but as you can see here, we have, if we go here, deceased by old age, and we have the granddaughter, grandson, and then we click here, it shows that they're the grandfather. I also like when a parent is not made that they have like this unknown now. It kind of shows that, hey, there at least was supposed to be someone there at some point. And then also if you go to the father, you can see that this is his son-in-law. And then if you go to the sister, you can see that this is her brother-in-law. I don't really like it that when you're on the sim that's married into the family, you can't see the family married, the sim that they're married to's family, but this is definitely an improvement. But as you can see, all the relationships are here. But when we go into create a sim, let me show you how it looks just in case you're wondering. So I was slightly disappointed by this part, but basically they did cover this in the questionnaire, and that is they didn't update too many of the relationships here in Create a Sim. Pretty much you have to make the family for the connections to be there. That's why they added the Sims into like the Goth and Crumple Bombs and showing how they connected. So I still can't choose for Simba to be his father-in-law here, but the relationships are still in game. I just want to confirm that. So we still have the same relationships in Create a Sim, but maybe one day we'll get an update to where we can at least set like aunts and cousins and stuff. But at least this is an improvement for now. And then I wanted to go ahead and show off some of the stuff in Create a Sim. So I'm actually going to start off with the new nail set, because we have a new nail set that has 12 different swatches, and it's supposed to be like a jewel type, so it's like shiny and whatnot, but it comes in a bunch of basic swatches, at least what I call basic swatches, like neutral swatches pretty much. It has some reds, some purples, which is fun. I'm pretty much going to give her the purple because her whole getup is purple, but I do like them. They are pretty. It is just a little bit of a random addition, but it's still fine. And then I talked about this coming in a previous video, but I did want to show it off in the update since it is part of the update. But now we have two new filter options. One, we have the new hair filter option. So if we go to hairs and go here, we can now filter, if we go to the texture, we can filter afro and curly, straight, and wavy, which these weren't here before. So now we have curly and afro textures. So these are all the hairs that come in the afro texture. I have almost all the packs, pretty much all the packs that have hair except for the Star Wars pack. So here are all the hairs that they're counting as afro textured. And what I'm more excited to see is the curly. So we have some curly hairs, not as many as I would hope. I'm assuming most of the ones I'm wanting, they're qualifying as wavy hair, but I don't know. I can question that. And then we have the straight hair, which has most of the hairstyles because, you know, that's how the Sims be, especially in the early days. There was mainly just straight hairstyles. I feel like most of them are accurate. Some of curly versus wavy, I feel like I could have crossed a little bit, but I do appreciate the filter. And then we now have the African style choice. So beforehand we had basic, outdoorsy, polished, prep, rocker, country, hipster, boho, streetwear, and now we have African, which includes her little hat or scarf, or I'm sorry, I don't know the proper name for this, but the scarf on the head. That sounds like I'm being stupid, but that's because I'm a stupid dumb American, sorry. But it has this, as well as if you go into the full body outfit, it has this outfit that they're wearing now. I'm assuming when we get the pack, there's going to be more under this category, but for now it just has this outfit that they're all wearing. And I believe that's pretty much it for Create Sim. But there is going to be one more thing that I want to look at in game, and that is in build mode, and that is the stair update. So we are getting flared stairs and a whole ass update to stair railings. So now we can flare the bottom of stairs and the top of the stairs. You can flare one side of the stair, and then on railings we now have the option to choose to just be on the left side or just be on the right side, or you can use a slider to slide how far up the railing goes if you don't want to go all the way to the bottom, which I thought was pretty cool. I never thought that would be an addition to The Sims, like deciding how far up a railing goes. I was just hoping for them to do it on the left and the right side, which they did that too. Also, I never guessed we would get flared stairs. This is like just really cool to me. So it says, get ready to create a grand looking staircase. Now you can widen the top or the bottom of the staircase symmetrically or asymmetrically to give your builds a touch of elegance. Additional stair rails can now be applied to one side of the staircase, and we added a slider to change the length of the rail. So that's officially what they say in the patch notes. So I'm just going to jump right back into my game real quick, and we are just going to go back to that empty lot and show off the stairs really quick. Alright, to show this off, I'm just going to use the basic staircase here. So I'm going to put one against the wall, and then, you know what, let's go ahead and put one single one, and then also one that is too wide, so we can really see everything on here. So basically, we'll show it off with this middle one first, the flared. So you have the option here, if you click on the stair now, originally you could just have it to like where I just did this one, you could just slide it like this. Now you have the option at the top and the bottom to press this and it flares out. So you have it one link and two links. I don't think it can go any wider than that. Oh no, it can go 3 links. It can go up to 3 links. Okay, so we have 1. It's kind of like hard to pull. 2 and 3. Alright, so that's what it looks like at the bottom, and then we can do the same thing at the top. We can make it look real funky there, with the middle just being completely in. So that's the flared staircases. And then if you only want to do one side, for like example, you have it against a wall, so you wouldn't want it to flare out on both sides. Or it actually doesn't even let you flare it out on both sides if there's a wall there. And I have move objects on, so that's interesting. But you can press shift and then you can do it on one side, and you have like a big like sideways rounded type staircase there, which is really fun. So that's everything to do with the flare staircase. And then, like I said, we have the railings. The railings here, let's just go ahead and I'm gonna show off why I like this with maybe, the life and death staircase. So this is what it looks like when you put it on a wall. Obviously we have it on a regular staircase and it looks fine, but when you put it against a wall, you have it where it cuts in. Also, it just clips weird with the top of the staircase always. It just looks weird. I never liked when you would put a railing and you couldn't take it off the wall. So now they have a feature where on the railing, you now have an option to have no railing, left railing, right railing, or double railing. And you can go ahead, and if you do left railing, you can see here that it doesn't cut into the wall because there's no railing there. And that is so nice. I've been wanting that for so long. And also we can adjust the slider. So you can go here and adjust with this slider that the railings go down and only start from the top middle, or you can start from the top and only go halfway down the middle. There's also different scales, so it goes several different ranges, so you can pretty much have it at any height you want. And I feel like this, most people will be like, that's kind of weird, but at my aunt's house, the way they built their house, literally it has it where the rail is like this basically, because only this part of the stair is exposed. Actually, they have it to where it's one rail on the left and then the wall's there, and then there's a wall that goes up because it goes like to the upper level. So it's actually realistic to me. I know it might seem kind of weird, but it's actually pretty realistic in my opinion, depending on what kind of house structure you have. And also, I just wanted to clarify, it does work no matter how big of a stair size you have. And also, I wanted to see the flare with the rail. Oh, that looks so nice. I really like that. No, I really like that. Okay, that makes me happy. But this should apply to all the stairs and stair railings. So that's everything I wanted to show off in game. Now let's go ahead and go into the patch notes again and go over the bug fixes. There's not a super big amount, and most of them were already in the laundry list, but since this is a video about the patch update, we should probably go over the bug fixes in the patch. So as you can see here, I was not lying. There's a very short list of bug fixes, like to the point they didn't even break them up into packs. They were just like, oh, here's live mode, here's build mode, and here's create a sim. So here we go. So on live mode, we have resolved an issue that caused photos to turn black, discovered after the January 13th base game update, which was supposed to fix the photos in the first place. So as far as I can tell, this is supposed to fix photos from here on out to where they won't black. It's not going to save your previous photos that are already blacked out. But again, we've had this fixed like 4 or 5 times. So is it going to work? We'll see. We'll see. Again, these are things they're saying is fixed, and we know we need to take things with a grain of salt when they say they're fixed, because sometimes they are fixed, and sometimes they're temporarily fixed, and sometimes they just are worse. So this is what is supposed to be fixed. And then the second one says, in additional instances of an issue where entering and exiting build mode during scenarios with goals would cause UI to disappear or the game to become unresponsive, which is not good at all. And then we have book covers for baking, wellness, snowboarding, rock climbing, herbalism, and photography books no longer change when placed on retail displays. Fabrication and mixology skill books no longer have the same book cover. So a bunch of book cover problems. And then we have resolved an issue where the Sims' great-grandparents incorrectly had romantic interactions involved with extended family members. I just feel like that whole thing is supposed to be fixed with the romancing the family. And then we also have resolved an issue where a sim didn't complete dance with someone at prom, preventing a gold event. And then we also have an upgrade to vacuums, so they will now work off the grid. And then as far as build mode goes, we have resolved an issue that prevented a room type assignment in build mode, which I feel like I've ran into a couple of times. And then we also have a simple shattered and master chef staircase no longer have extra board when placing L-shaped stairs. So some of the L-shaped stairs were glitched out when you did them. And then create a sim, we fixed the UI issue in create a sim that was preventing elements from displaying on turn-offs and turn-ons, like the like and dislike buttons. And then adding merfolks and aliens creation should no longer cause a game crash, and resolved an issue where a nail set, which is apparently the short nail with dirt under it, it was causing a metallic effect to the entire body. And then also resolved a nail set aspect, which is like some kind of forest green one that showed lines on the upper arm. I didn't notice when I went and created sim if the icons were still flashing when I was doing the traits in the new sim. I guess I've just gotten so used to it, like I don't even think about it anymore. But they didn't mention that, but I do wish they would fix that if they didn't, because that flashing can be annoying when you're not used to it. The first several weeks it was there, I was just like, no. But that's literally all the bug fixes. Not as many bug fixes as we have gotten in the last like 7 or 8 patches, but we did have a huge genealogy and family tree renovation, so I will take that. And then let's talk about the not as pleasant news, and that is kits. So I guess the first news is kind of good, kind of bad at the same time. It does fix an issue I had a problem with. Basically, if you weren't aware, when the Legacy and Royalty expansion pack is coming out, the way that they're marketing this is, I'm assuming the new people taking over are doing this, but pretty much the way they're marketing this is if you buy the expansion pack by March 15th, you get the normal 3 extra items that you get if you buy it at full price before a certain date, but also you get 2 free kits. And the way they were explaining it before was like, oh yeah, you'll get these kits for free, but if you don't buy the pack by a certain date, like, you just don't get the kits. And now they have made them to where you can get them for free with the pack, or after that date you can buy them individually, which, good news, bad news, because more kits. And honestly, if I wasn't going to get the pack on time anyways, I probably wouldn't get either of these kits. It's the Silver Screen Style Kit and the Tea Time Sultrum Kit. The Tea Time Sultrum Kit, maybe I would get, but the style kit, this isn't really my style. I probably wouldn't get it if it wasn't that I was just gonna get it for free anyways. But I probably will do a review on these 2 kits together to try to tell you if I feel like they're worth getting the pack early for, which is probably gonna be no, honestly, because I don't think they're related to the pack enough. With that news, we also have 2 more kits announced, because they're really pushing the freaking kits. So 2 weeks after the pack comes out, so on February 26th, we are getting 2 kits, and we are getting the Wonderland Playroom Kit, which honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kinda excited for that one. I'm not gonna lie, that's kinda right up my alley. I'm a huge Alice in Wonderland fan. I'm liking it because they aren't making it uppriced. I don't hate the concept of kits. I've said this in the past. I don't hate the concept of kits if you're not trying to get every single kit, because it's like focused content on what you like in particular. In the past, I've gotten all the kits just to review them. Now I'm trying to be a little bit more picky with the kits I get. I'm mainly getting kits that are made by creators, but I do like the Alice in Wonderland. I do like that. So I probably will review that kit. And then the other one is a creator kit, which is The Sims 4 Yard Charm, and is made by Ravishing, which I've actually heard of Ravishing before, so I am kind of excited. I try to at least get the content creator ones, because they normally have a content creator code that you can give back and get the creator a little bit more money, which when I review these kits, I will talk about that in that video. But yeah, we have 4 kits coming. These 2 I would probably not review if I wasn't getting them for free. These 2 I will be reviewing. And the last piece of information I want to go over in this video is talking about the new login event. If you guys have been following The Sims for the last couple years, you know they have been doing this thing where before a big expansion pack comes out, they put a quote free base game event out, and it used to be more base game than it is now. They've kind of changed how it worked. Pretty much when these events started, they started out where they would come out like right after the pack was announced, and the like month before the pack would come out, you would play this free base game event that you would have pretty much until the pack came out to complete, and earn free base game items that you can only get in that event. And if you don't get it during that event, you lose it forever. And the items would go kind of with the theme of the pack. And they kind of still do that, but now they make it to where one, it only comes out like right before the pack, and they end up putting it where it goes side by side with the pack. And then they start integrating stuff from the pack. So like some of the stuff you can only have if you have the pack. And then they also, on top of that, make other items like that where you have to have a certain expansion pack like Horse Ranch or Enchanted by Nature or Cats and Dogs or Life and Death. You know, the $45 packs, there'll be like at least 3 different items from 3 different packs. So it's kind of like, yeah, they're saying free base game stuff to complete this event. And I do like the fact that like they give us free stuff and that we do have gameplay to go along with it. I feel like the login events are a little boring, but the like gameplay events I think are more fun. But I don't like when they're advertising it as like a base game free event and then they're making it like, oh, but you can only have these items if you have a pack, especially when it's a new pack. I don't know. I just feel like I don't like that. I don't like that. I liked it when it led up to the event and all the items were like base game, but now they've kind of made it to where I like it less. I already liked it less because it was temporary. I would like it more if it was like a scenario situation where you could choose to do the scenario and earn the items if you wanted them and they weren't on like a time limit, but I know they're trying to get people to log in. I'm still going to do the event. Probably in the next video I post, unless some crazy sim news happens, I will be doing the first week of the event. I'll also do a video where I do week 2 and 3 and then have a video on its own where I do week 4. But I don't know. I liked them better before. I still never completely liked them, but I don't like how they make it where you have to have like 4 different expansion packs to have all the items. But this is one that sounds interesting to me. So it says, embark on a whirlwind adventure of Lost Legacies event as your Sims are swept into a royal treasure hunt sparked by the arrival of mysterious royal embassies. Play through March 16th. So you have March 16th to complete this, and the first week is already out, and then I think every Tuesday, every week we'll get a new event and it'll have new prizes and new tasks to complete, and then you have till March 16th to complete them all. So the theme here says uncover lore, from exploring artistic legacy of Dan Bell family to unraveling the romantic secrets of the Bellacore family and decoding the legendary tales of Princess Cordelia. Explore the lost legacy in these 3 particular families from the Sims 4 Royalty and Legacy expansion pack. So it's already saying right there that part of this you have to have the expansion pack to explore the lore. I guess maybe what I'm hoping is they'll make it to where you can do it without the expansion pack and explore like base game families, but I don't know, it's making it sound like you might have to, because, you know, the pack is coming out in like a week or so, you know. But then it says, free limited time rewards, unlock a trove of treasures through the week, from collectible skeleton keys from the completing quest to cursed rings with dangerous consequences to a vengeful aspiration, new lot trait, and more. Each reward is a special and brings you closer to the noble families, has a unique aesthetic, or adds a new way to play. See, it's saying the noble families and stuff, so I'm really hoping like it's not like, oh, to complete the rest of the quest have this pack. That I would not like. Okay, and this is active quest. Your Sims will dive into lively debates, master new skills, chase clues across museums, nightclubs, libraries, and hidden grottos. Those are at least all base game type lots, so I feel like you just have to have the base games to at least do those parts. So let's look at the actual rewards we're gonna get though. So on week 1 we get 1 skeleton key. There's a total of 5 skeleton keys, but then we have a table. I think it's the like life and death table that you show like memorials on and stuff for funerals. I can't think of the name of it now, but it comes in 6 colors. It's a new version of that. I get that you have to have the gameplay of life and death to make that functional, so I kind of wish they hadn't made that an item because they could have chose something else. It looks like we have a new art easel that comes in 6 colors. Kind of excited for that one actually. And then we have the trophy case to show off the skeleton keys in, and then we have a robe that also comes in 6 colors. All of these come in 6 colors. And then on week 2, you get 2 new skeleton keys. And then if you have Horse Ranch, you get a new horse saddle, which we do need a new horse saddle. I'll give them that. That's long overdue, but I would rather had that in a base game update. And then we have a new ring that comes in 5. The saddle comes in 6 colors. A new ring that comes in 5 colors. And then a new bookcase that comes in 6 colors. Is that I can't tell if that has a ladder on it. Maybe I'm just seeing things. legs. It looks like it's either like poked out or has a ladder on it. I can't tell. And then week 3, we get one more key and we get 9 colors of a new stained glass window, a new trait, I think that is, because this is the aspiration, so this would be the trait. And then we get a eye patch in 7 colors, and you don't have to have any packs having any of that stuff, thank God. And then week 4, you get the last key and you get a dress that you can only get with Enchanted by Nature, and I think that's stupid. I think the dress should just be where everyone can get it. There's no reason to have that locked behind a paywall. Even if the dress goes well with the pack. Like the saddle, I get, you have to have a horse. The table, I get, you have to have the life and death funerals for that to work. I feel like they could chose a different item. But the dress, why would you have to have Enchanted by Nature to have that? That's stupid. But anyways, then you get a corset top, which is actually really cute. I like the corset top. This is something I've been wanting. And then we have the new aspiration as well. So like I said, I will be jumping into the game in my next video. I'll probably record that tomorrow because it's already almost midnight now when I'm recording this. But my next video, I will start this Lost Legacy game event and show it off if you are interested and you're curious what comes in it and what the gameplay is going to be like. But that is gonna be it for this video, you guys. So I hope you enjoyed this video and found it informative and entertaining, because that was the purpose. But for now, you guys, thanks so much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and do all that awesome stuff, because you guys are awesome people. I'll see you next time. All right, bye.